Right, guys and girls, we continue with Derek's build. As you can see, if you've been following the progress on this, you'll be aware of what's going on. Welcome to MJ Performance. So we're now going to move on to what we're going to be doing on the head. So we've got the head back, as you can see, look, from our machinist, Pete Willis. So he would have inspected that, checked it all out, and then resurfaced it, which I'll just lift it up, look, you can see that, so that's all been resurfaced. All super clean. As you can see down there, look, we can see all the valves, the tappets, etc. That's the standard valve springs, which we're going to be changing. So we flip back over to the bench again. So there. So what you're looking at there is the Piper Cams double valve spring kit, which, as you can see, as you can see from the originals, they are like conical, BI, whatever you want to call them. So like that, look, so I'll pick one up, you'll be able to see, look. See, look? As they like narrow towards the top. On the Piper ones, the double valve springs, they're not that. They're the same circumference all the way up. And you'll see double valve spring means what it is, like it's got another spring inside the outer one. And then unlike the original, so you got the shim which goes on first. There's your valve stem seals, and you got your top hat there, and then your collets. Obviously, we'll hold that in. On the originals, it's not like that. So on the originals, where are they? Here, let's see. They're like sort of valve stem seals. They're built in, look, as you can see. Whereas they're separates when we change them for the double valve spring kit. All right. So next phase for me. As you can see, I'm at the ready. Got me paste, course, fine. Got my grinding stick, old school way of doing things. Got the tool for putting in the valve stem seals, valve spring compressor tool. Right, and then we'll pop them in there, get all that sorted out, and then move on to the next phase. Obviously, the fiddly bit on this, as I've said many times, is them horrible little collets, which you've got to, fiddly, but yeah, you've got to be patient with them. It's easy to get frustrated, but yeah, we'll crack on, and then the block and all that's covered up there, and then we'll continue with that, building that up afterwards. But we'll get this fiddly little job done first. This bloke over here, look, you see him, he's busy working on something non-performance, but old Mikey there, look, we'll do a full vid with Mikey soon, but at the moment he's too busy to get on camera and that, right, Mike? He's way too busy to be speaking to me or anybody else for the moment. So yeah, we'll continue this soon. See you in a bit. Right, guys and girls, we continue. You got Magic Mike there. Look, he's just walked past. We'll put the camera on him. He's doing a little C3 there, which is not performance related at all. But yeah, so we do not just performance stuff, bread and butter stuff as well. All right, first and foremost, to move across to Derek's. So anyway, this is our baffled sump side of things. So as you can see, look, the baffled sump plate, which has all been laser cut, Julian down at Proform Engineering, and obviously you've got the flaps inside, look, which is, and then you've got your securing bolts there. They're Loctite in, so use a mold strength Loctite on those. Everything's all been cleaned out. It's all sort of like prepped. So I've got to finish off prepping it around there, and then that will then be fitted to Derek's block. Not there, obviously, the underside. All right, so as you can see, I've started building up the oil change. So you've got your crank sprocket on there, look. It's a dual sprocket. Picks up the oil chain on that one, the oil pump, as you can see. Tensioner, that's all done. And then the second part of it is for the main timing chain for the engine. All right, so that's that side of it. Water pump's all inlet, as you can see. Now what we do on these is I don't fit the 2.3 water pump because it's got a plastic impeller. I'll fit the ST250 one, which is a 2 litre one, which has got a metal impeller. So that's just me. I mean, I prefer to put a metal impeller one on than the plastic one. Other people do what they want, I suppose, but that's what I do. All right, got your little filter in there for that's your oil pickup feed, which comes out from the block, feeds to the turbo. But obviously we've got a different fitting than that because we use our own braided line to the turbo with a different fitting as opposed to the OE one with a banjo fitting. It's just not that reliable, I don't think. So we changed that. But yeah, like I say, the block looks beautiful in the grabber blue, and all the ARP studs are in, look, as you can see. So we wind them in and out a few times just so we know that when they bottom out, then you just back them off. You don't put any torque on them, so they're hand tight. All right, so you can undo them and just do them up finger tight, really, and that's it. So when we come around to there, the rear main crankshaft oil seal is in. Come around this side, it's just, I haven't started building that side up yet, but obviously oil's going to come out there because obviously as we prime up the oil pump, I always fill the oil pump, prime it up, and then you're going to get oil tracing through into there, because obviously that's where your filter housing will be bolted onto. All right, so that's it on that side of it. What I can do in a minute, I'll spin him around in a minute and just show you the underside of it. Well, I don't really need to actually. Let's do it this way, it's probably easier. So you got your oil pickup there. Look, everything's replaced. We don't use anything from the original motor. Everything's replaced. All right, so we showed you that before with the crank and the arrow precision rods, arrow crank, etc. Showed you our own blank for the balance shaft delete. That's all gone. So what I'm going to do now is get this sump put on there, get them all sealed up with the correct forward sealer. All right, and then which is, I think Mike's already been using it for something, which is there. Look, we use that, and these have a date stamp on it, by the way. So there's a date, expiry date on that sealant. If you don't use it by the timing, that's the end of, I don't know what it is on that, but it's within anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But if you don't, it goes all hard and it's not the same, and you won't get the same bonding capabilities on it. All right, so that's why there's best before on it. All right, so yeah, without further ado, let's get this loaded up, and then we'll drop the egg gasket on. I'll show you that again, standard 4-day gasket on that 2 litre one, and then we'll start bolting it up then. All right, so I'll be back soon. Right. We're slowly getting the bits off the floor from Derek's, as you can see. So with that turbo that you can see here, so this turbo, that it's got PA on it because it belongs to Phil Adams. So that's the turbo that come off Phil's Black Beast. Blimey, it's not even done 10,000 miles. As you can see, like, he had a mount tune sound suppressor on it in the mount tune upright recirc. So that's going to go on Derek's. So Derek's is there, look. But that's, like I said, this car is done, he dailies it, they don't mess around. So this car has done quite a few miles. So we'll be swapping that out for that one, which makes sense because I'm building the motor fresh. So why not? Intercooler, aircon condenser with the, radiator aircon condenser, that's going to be swapped out. So for a Pro-Alloy radiator, makes sense to do that, obviously. The front transfer box, that's all been rebuilt, as you can see, all new seals. So Darren's took that apart, then rebuilt it, all new seals. That's done. Timing chain cover, I've got to sort that out, clean that up and all that sort of stuff. But in the front subframe, it's going to have a H&R, I think we're going to go for H&R. Let's have a look at what we got. Yeah, then it's all got to be cleaned up. Laura will do that. She's quite good at that. H&R front and rear anti-roll bar, the adjustable ones with the brushes, same as what I've got on mine, same as what I've got on Phil's, and then we use white line adjustable drop links. It's a good little mix. That these bits on the floor here that you see, well, that's the original dual mass look with a clutch. I mean, that's been in the scrap. Obviously that's the mains cradle that goes with the 2.3 block, which is there, look. So we'll bolt that back in. That's his original sump, so we swapped that out for one of our own with the baffled side of it, balance shaft delete, because the balance shaft is there, look, so that ain't gone back in. I don't know what that's there. There's been some instructions floating around that Mike was doing. That's the original pistons and the original crank, as I said to you, but it's got the balance shaft sprocket there, which obviously that picks up on that. It's just for refinement really, missions and all that sort of stuff in it. So that's all gone on the Arrow Precision. That goes, everything's reprofiled on the counterweights, and it's ends up being 4 kilos lighter. All right, so none of that is, I mean, it all belongs to Derek, so of course I'll be drop that back in and just lightly build it, because he'll be I think he wants to use this as some sort of coffee table maybe. Have a go at that, can he? Coffee table? Yeah, why not? But yeah, it's a bit of a mess on the floor at the moment, but yeah, we're stuck for a bit of space. Yeah, so obviously the manifold here, look, so his inlet manifold, mine, obviously because he's been running the full port methanol like I do, my injectors have been put in the top, so obviously that's been sort of reprofiled and yeah, they straight into there. But we're hoping that our own billet ones are going to be available, so that we don't have to be doing it to the plastic one. That's the idea anyway. They're a bit short supply at the moment, but yeah, yeah, there's lots and lots of bits and pieces. Right, let's whiz around to and catch up on what we're doing. That's my car there, look, which is, as you know, having lots of development and stuff done on it. So anyway, so the stage I'm at the moment with continuation of Derek's build. So heads all on. We've showed you this before. So ARP studs, they're all in. Wind them down in and out a few times. Make sure that they go and bottom out, and then yeah, and then no torque on them. Like I said, just finger tight. The torque is done on the nut with the washer and the nut. So squeaky clean washer to head face, and then the proper ARP lubricant on the threads and the underside of the nut. And then there's a sequence of doing it, which you can see here. Look, all right, there's your sequence. Look, so you just follow that. So it's like 1 to 10, 25 foot-pound, 50, 75, slacken back off 10 to 1, and then back up 1 to 10, 25, 50, 75 again, and then you're done. That's it. So we use a standard Ford multi-layer gasket, steel one. In my opinion, they're the best. I have used, of course, I've used Cometic and that on Phil's build, but on Roberts and Richards and now Derek's, it'll be the Ford standard gasket, because to be fair, you know, everybody's got their own opinion, but you can't beat the standard OE gasket. It just does the job. All right, so and I think most tuners that do the sort of thing that I do would agree with that. All right, so unless you work for Cometic or Athena or something like that, then they're going to say something different, aren't they? Yeah, Ford spend God knows how much money with whoever makes the gasket for them on developing a gasket which is got to be the best. You know, it's a proper multi-layer one. So if it was a inferior, you know, alternative material other than steel, then you think, yeah, you know. So, but no, it's yeah, they spend all that money in development and testing. Why wouldn't you go? You know, for anybody else to match that, they wouldn't have the infrastructure or the facilities to do that, would they? So yeah, that's my take on it anyway. So to go for the OE one. As you can see, so I've talked about this before. All the block's been done in, all prepped. Takes many hours to do that, so it's all cleaned and the hot wash prepped, and then it's masked off. That's a pain to do, and then straight on the etch and primer, loads of coats of that, then full on with the 2K grabber blue, like 5, 6 coats of that, and it comes out nice and glossy. Just looks far better, and it stays like that. All right, so, but yeah, on the carrying on with what I've been doing on this. So yeah, studs on, the gasket on, head on, and then what we've done then is obviously the tappets. When they're a bit tight, the tappets are always tight to get back in on the head. You know, dropping in on the double valve springs, because they're different, aren't they? Double valve springs, you've got that cap on the top, they're different the way they're configured, so they're a bit tighter in the casting. So we use all the full-on, you know, the proper engine assembly lube, which is, rather than, you can use just the engine oil 040, whatever you want to do. I use the lube up as much as I can, because obviously on initial start up, it's got that protection there and that lubrication immediately before it finds the oil for the oil pressure and around the system. All right, so that's all done. I always mark everything on the inlets and the exhaust on the cam caps. They have to go back exactly how they are. We got the timing side of things, so I've already done that. So chains all on that, so I don't mess around. Everything's new chain, guides, tensioner. That's they've updated that now, so that's different. The original one is quite an heavy duty one. They've obviously binned that now, and then they use the lightweight casting one. That's what's available now. So all I do is just temporarily put the pulley on, the crank pulley, because don't forget this is a compression fit, so it grabs it, and if you try and spin that over without having anything on that, the bottom end will turn, but the top won't do anything, will it? Because it's got no way of connecting. All right, it's not keywayed. So yeah, like I said before, oil pump, new oil pump chain, guide, that's all done. We prime up the oil pump, the water pump, obviously 2 litre one, metal impeller, as I said before. So yeah, all I've done then is just popped on the crank, just lightly, you know, gunned it up to a certain torque, and then done lots and lots of revolutions, just to make sure everything's all good. And it's all good. You can feel loads of compression there already, even though I'm just turning it over by hand. Yeah, and then just lock it in with a timing. So you've got the crank pin there, look. I don't know if you can see through there. I don't know if you can see it, but that's locks up against the crank. And then you've got the timing tool around the back, plate, which locks the cams in. Now, interestingly, right, there's no flywheel on it, all right? So Julian done at Proform, we've made a flywheel locking tool, all right? So if you can imagine, I mean, I'll show it to you when I do it. So flywheel on, and then we've got a flywheel locking tool, which then locks against the teeth on the flywheel, because you need to keep it dead still. You need that because you've got to cream up that crank pulley. I always do them in the car, because you try and get the lowest, like 100 newton meters, and then it's like 180 degrees. You try doing that on an engine stand, you'll end up, the engine stand will end up tipping over. All right, so I've tried it. Don't. So that's even with a big snap-on, you know, proper like daddy torque wrench. So no, so we don't. I don't bother with any of that nonsense. So I do that, and then I do that in the car, because when it's in the car on the mounts on 2 posters, you can really get the swing on it then, and the force that you need to get the correct setting on it. I know some people, yeah, they probably just gun it up. Well, if you gun it up, that's fine, but how the hell do you know what torque? It doesn't say to do that, does it? It says 180 degrees. So unless you've got a special gun which will tell you what degrees it's done it to, which I don't think is available, not I know of anyway. But yeah, so that's the way I'll do it. So the other thing is you can't put the flywheel on with these, there's no room, is there? So what I do is I've got made some extended studs. So basically what I'll do is I'll put the hoist on that, put the hangers on it, pull it up with a hoist, and then pull this off, extend it, so it'll be out here, and then I can fit the clutch. It just makes it a lot easier. Put the flywheel on, because I need to lock that in, fit the clutch, and then we do it all in one hit. Put the gearbox on, build it all up, and then drop it onto the bench. Obviously not at the moment. It's full up, isn't it? Have to clear it away first. So onto the bench, and then lower the car down, and then we can sit it on its mounts, and then we can address the crank pulley after that. All right, this is our new fitting. So on the original, you don't have that. So on the original, that is just, there's like a banjo fitting with a bolt. And then obviously the feed pipe runs up to the turbo, which is different again where it goes onto the turbo. Our redesign and uprated pipe, for those of you who know that it's available, is made for us by Exact Engineering. So we have a fitting going into there with the dirty washer. So that eliminates all the problem where you're getting leaks from the washer. And then we've got a fitting going into the top of the turbo, which you'll be able to see from Phil's, because I think Phil's is still in there because he already had that. Yeah, so that's the fitting there, look. So that's our fitting, which is done duly mixed down at Pro Form. And then you've got our, so if you can imagine, and it just, one goes to the other. That's it. It just fits into the top of it. And it eliminates that problem of it leaking from the block. But a lot of the time, it can be both. It leaks from here. It's hard to show you actually. So for the timing chain cover goes on, all right, bolts up to there. The sealer's not applied in the right place, or it's rushed and it's not prepped properly. It's not torqued properly, the configuration's not done properly. A lot of the time not enough sealer. And then what happens is it starts leaking from here. So it starts leaking from here and it starts running down. So it runs down and then drips down onto there, right? And then drips off, runs around, then drips off here. So then people look at it, trying to diagnose a problem. They look at it, oh my God, I can see a drip leaking from, oh, it's got to be that washer. Well, it might be, if it's been disturbed. So it can be just that. It can be the timing chain cover and not sealed properly, or it can be both. So, you know, the thing is, if it's leaking from here, unless you've got two leaks, it wouldn't leak from there. As you know, it wouldn't, your drip would be just on the bottom there, wouldn't it? Leaking out. So if you bothered to look up further on up, you'd see it leaking from here, from the cover, and dribbling down. And obviously the oil gets hot, so it gets hotter, it gets thinner, runs faster, more of it. So that's the mistake that people make. They don't bother looking, they don't bother checking it properly. They just see a drip from here, oh my God, it's that. Well, it's not, is it? If you brake cleaner it all off and then put a torch up there, and you'll see it leaking from here. And that's why you think it's leaking from there, because it's dripping down onto there, and then that gives you the impression it's leaking from there. So that's what I found anyway. But you know, again, just my own opinion. People can agree, disagree, whatever. Doesn't really matter to me. I'm just telling you what my thoughts are on it. As always, I'm not here to worry about what other people are doing, just what I'm doing, and stay focused on, you know, the punt there, look, because it is a focus on everything I'm doing. So yeah, so I'm going to crack on Dirks now. So next phase is to clean up the timing cover and all that sort of stuff. The end caps go on last, obviously for the DI pump casing, and then housing, and then obviously you got your vacuum servo side of things. Got to drop in the sensors in there, solenoids, and yeah, so there's still loads to do, but I've got to obviously get on the bench and extend this out before I want to put that the fly one. But we'll show you the TTV brace clutch, because having the same as what I've put on the other ones, which is lightweight steel bit of flywheel and the two-piece twin plate clutch, but ceramametallic plates in it. But we'll show you all that anyway. All right, so I've done enough gassing. I better crack on. All right, see you in a bit.